right, so we are back, and you know, I'm kind of craving something. I don't know, I got a hankering for a juicy, fresh off the grill, thick, savory, Salisbury, sweet, tenderized beef. And luckily for me, the influencer boxing scene once again delivered. And I'm not talking about me breaking the biggest story of the day, which is Jake Paul offering Tommy Fury $2 million for Tommy to still not sign the contract. I mean the beef going on between MISFITS Boxing and anesongib. The influencer fighter pay versus influencer fighting value. Now we're gonna break down the entire situation and my thoughts on who's in the right and wrong here, and a message that we all need to have going forward. But before we do that, guys, we are only 30,000 subscribers away from 300,000 on the channel. We just started the month of December. Give the gift of subbing to the best community on YouTube by clicking that sub button now. And guys, like I said, we get to 300K before the end of the year and we're all having a celebration. So let's get into this thing. GIB versus MISFITS Boxing, and more specifically Mams Taylor. Who's in the right and who's in the wrong over the discussion of fighter pay and fighter value? Well, the breakdown. Let's go. All right, so earlier today on Twitter, things started to unravel a bit in the influencer boxing scene in a way that I did not think was gonna go public, but behind the scenes knew that there was already some things happening that was probably going to lead to something like this. And it started with Mams Taylor, aka Proper Loud Music, aka your favorite cowboy's favorite cowboy. He's the head booker for MISFITS Boxing. He's the man that puts all of the fights together, lead matchmaker. And he posted this picture on Twitter of anesongib, and it just says, "Give me the winner." Very vague and kind of really nothing you can take from that. Just because I am your biggest money fight does not make you mine. 2023, I'm collecting chins and cashing checks. Still don't like the way that you guys spell checks in the UK. It's with a CK, not the QUES. What is that? Gib hits a reply. It says, "Lowest fight offer in 3 years. Do better, and I'll expose the fighters you protect," which I don't really have any idea about because it does seem like MISFITS is having a hard time actually getting guys to fight. So I don't know if they're protecting people or it's just guys don't want to fight and are protecting themselves. But Gib obviously taking a shot there at Mams' matchmaking and saying, listen, I'll come and fight the guys that aren't fighting the other people that they should be fighting, and him not naming names there, but also at the same time saying pretty much everyone at 170 can get it if you pay me the right price. Nothing wrong with that tweet. In fact, if you're Gib, okay, that's fine. But let's remember that first part of the sentence, lowest fight offer in 3 years. Because then Mams comes back with the quote tweet. By the way, as you see, my boy Sensei enjoying his time in this Twitter section right now. But he comes back and says, "I offered you $250,000 to fight Temper." First off, before you go any further, $250,000 to fight Temper is a whole lot of fucking money. Then Mams continues, "More if you fight Slim on a main event. Offered a lot more for JJ since we're talking about exposing," and hits one of these. That tweet by itself is a bomb on a lot of people for a good and bad reason. Now that Mams is exposed, he was gonna pay Gib $250,000. The problem now becomes everyone saw that, and the fact that Gib essentially has said no to that offer, and the fact that that was Gib's lowest offer in 3 years is going to start to point people into the direction of saying, well, if Gib is getting 250K and his Austin fight didn't really sell, we don't know what he contributed to the first Social Gloves, why am I not getting that number? Herein lies the problem with exposing numbers publicly, and I know that Mams was doing this to make a point that he can't offer more money than 250K because MISFITS does need to run a business, and to do so, you can't just offer willy-nilly money unless you are a Social Gloves or some of these other organizations that are a going out of business sale. They're not making money. MISFITS is partnered with DAZN. They can't afford to do that, literally. And Gib saying it's his lowest fight offer in 3 years shows you why they can't do it. Because look at all of the other fights that Gib has been on. Outside of a Jake Paul or a JJ card, they don't make any money. They are giving guys money to lose money. But as one KSI would sing to all of his adoring fans in a concert hall filled to the brim, "It's not over yet." Because Mams Taylor did clap back once again. "Ask your manager. I offered the JJ fight right after you beat McBroom. So I lied about an offer, but it was the lowest in 3 years? Which is it? I don't even have any negative feelings toward you, but won't let you talk shit about MISFITS, which you keep doing it for some reason." So again, this is kind of where everything's settled. And Really, it's just two guys sticking both feet in the ground and saying, this is my position, this is my position. Now, I'm gonna give you guys what I think. Neither guy here is really wrong, right? Let's take a look from both ends of it. From Mam's point of view, he is running a business, and businesses have to make money. They have to be profitable to continue running. This is why companies like Social Gloves and Social KO and whatever other garbage time influencer boxing event that you've seen in the last couple of years slowly die off because they overpay and underdeliver, whether it's pay-per-view sales, ticket sales, an entertaining card that people can get behind, promotion, whatever, advertising, it doesn't matter. All that I'm telling you is when you overpay in the wrong areas and your overhead becomes much more than the money you're making, aka the revenue, you're not gonna be in business for very long. And Mams Taylor, coming into the scene and seeing all of those failures, decided, you know what, I can't overpay people just to come in, do a one-time appearance, get the bag, and then dip and go to another promotion because my business will crumble. Now, one of the most interesting tweets that happened in this back and forth between GIB, Mams Taylor, Misfits, the whole thing, Leon Wills stepped in and he had some pretty interesting things to say. It's right here. He goes, because a lot of yous are stupid, it's not a comparison between Misfits / DAZN and the UFC. There has to be a pay tier, as see many people outpricing themselves in crossover boxing, and it's about to get worse. Austin, Bryce, Taylor, etc. He's not wrong here. This is what I keep telling you guys about when guys see the numbers that are being thrown around at the top level, which is kind of why I didn't like Mams doing this, but I get it. Trying to show people, I got to run a business. This is what it's going to take. But when you see all of these numbers being thrown out, 250K, guys like Austin, Bryce, Taylor Holder, etc., start to feel as if those numbers represent what they bring to a fight. And if they can prove that, fair play. If they can prove they're going to bring in a ton of people, which they can't because they haven't, but if they could, then I'd understand that. But what Leon is saying is we need a pay structure. The UFC does have one of these, and whether you agree with it or not, it's there. So if there's one way to kind of sum up if this is right or wrong, or what's the message we leave this video off with, it's pretty simple. If you're an influencer boxer, you have to realize that the numbers that you want aren't necessarily going to be the numbers that you get. Just because you got it from one company, regardless of where that company was or how the business was run, doesn't mean that value translates to another unless you can prove the money that you bring in is worth the money that you get paid. Hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, and I don't mean it disrespectfully or personally. I understand fighters getting paid is my #1 advocacy. I've said it in the UFC. I said it when Austin robbed a bunch of guys on Social Gloves 1, but the amount of pay agreed upon is going to be determined by the value that you bring. What that number is, I don't have those answers, but obviously for GIB, it wasn't 250K, and if I'm GIB, yeah, go get your money if you can get it elsewhere, but if you can't, then you got to come back to the negotiation table in good faith and hopefully not in the public. Don't want to see that, but regardless, you have to sit down and figure out what is the value. And I'll ask this question as we head out. An influencer boxer that shows up, fights, and leaves, sure, they get their win, but you don't see them again until they're back in that ring, or a guy that does it all. Fighter pay or fighter value. GIB fights next, whether it's on Misfits or not. His value as a fighter is something we'll find out.